President Trump vowing to change birthright citizenship rules with the stroke of his pen.
But not everybody in Congress, including people in his own party, are on the same page. So what are the president's options? Here to weigh in, Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano.
Morning, guys.
The president said the other day maybe he would change it via executive order, but then yesterday he said maybe he would prefer to go through Congress rather than an executive order.
Well, listen, Congress can write legislation that puts sections of the Constitution into our law and tells bureaucrats how to enforce sections of the Constitution. But Congress can't change the Constitution. So if the president wants legislation that says, for example, the Congress declares that birthright citizenship no longer exists,
right,
that legislation would be just as unconstitutional as a presidential executive order declaring that birthright citizenship doesn't exist. Why do I say that? Because of the plain meaning of the 14th Amendment, which says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state in which they live.
But it's that word jurisdiction that
right.
people
So are illegals subject to the jurisdiction of the United States? Of course they are. They commit a crime, they get prosecuted. They get hit in an automobile accident, they can sue. They have basic human rights. They can't vote, they can't run for office, but they are subject to the jurisdiction thereof. The phrase subject to the jurisdiction thereof is intended to exclude from automatic citizenship the offspring of those who are not subject to our jurisdiction. Who would that be? Foreign diplomats, foreign heads of state, foreign agents.
But do you agree that our founding fathers couldn't possibly have foreseen 20 million people here illegally?
Of course.
And
of course
people abusing the system like Russians and Chinese, as well as Central and South Americans.
So the remedy is to change the Constitution, which is very difficult, very cumbersome, and in my opinion will not happen. The remedy would require a vote of 2/3 of both houses of Congress. That's not going to happen now. And ratification by 3/4 of the state legislatures.
Right.
Very cumbersome.
How about legislation driven from Lindsey Graham that passes the House and Senate that makes the courts decide on this and have an honest debate about this?
Well, the courts can't just decide something. They
well,
have
once
to
it's challenged. Once
correct.
It's passed,
they have to have a real case or controversy in front of them. But when the Supreme Court has looked at this, candidly, it's gone both ways. But the more recent cases have said whoever is born here is an American citizen. Look, the president can't change the plain meaning of the Constitution with the stroke of a pen. If he could do that, then Barack Obama could have gotten rid of the Second Amendment, which he hated. Presidents can't do that, and I think the president knows that. I believe he has generated this because he wants the debate. He thinks this debate will help Republicans in the 5 days remaining before the midterms. I don't think he seriously thinks he can change the Constitution with an executive order.
Well, he has changed the subject, and now everybody's talking about it.
Right.
All right, Judge, thank you very much.
I do believe he sincerely wants this. I don't think it's contrived at all.
I fully agree with you, Brian.
Right.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Judge.
You're welcome.
All right, 11 minutes before the top of the hour. You saw him on the stage with the president last night in Florida. Will it be enough to help Ron DeSantis become the state's next governor? He will join us.
Vote, vote, vote. Vote! I'm not going to do that. November 6th. Please vote. Vote.
Well, she said she wasn't running for president, but Oprah Winfrey hitting the campaign trail hard, and she's not the only celebrity making that final midterm push 5 days away.
Here with the reaction, lighting up social media, Fox News Headlines 24/7 reporter Carly Shimkus. Hey, Carly.
Hey, good morning, guys. So a lot of celebrities have politics on the brain right now, and Oprah is the latest. This is a pretty big deal for Stacey Abrams. She's going down. She's going to be going door to door to support Stacey Abrams in the Georgia gubernatorial race. So if you live in Georgia, Oprah might be coming over. You never know. She's also going to be participating in 2 town hall events today. Not so many people can drum up excitement and enthusiasm quite like Oprah.
Hey, without her, there's no President Obama.
Yeah, she pulled for Obama, but she also pulled for Hillary Clinton. And it didn't work out. And so a lot of people, especially on social media, we're seeing this reaction from conservatives who say, I may like the celebrity, but I don't really care about their politics. I vote for what works for my family and my wallet. And I think we have some reaction that speaks to that. Tippy on Twitter says, I hope celebrities learn soon that the vast majority of Americans do not care who they want us to vote for. If these gajillionaires think they have anything in common with the common people, they are sorely mistaken, and their careers will begin to reflect that. Jeff also says, Oprah, don't forget to tell voters how you benefited from Trump's tax break for the very rich. And Darlene says Democrats are trying to bring out celebrities like Oprah to woo voters. You can't vote as a fan. This is what we were just talking about. You need to vote for your family pocketbook. Trump has us at a 3.5 GDP, 3.1 increase in wages and salary, lowest unemployment for African Americans and Hispanics. So listing off some of his resume credentials there. Hillary Clinton had every celebrity under the sun endorse her, and it didn't work out. So it's an interesting debate as to whether celebrities really help push politicians over the finish
It's so
line.
interesting. It depends on the celebrity because Oprah has such a following with women.
Yes.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, Taylor Swift came out and, threw her hat into the ring,
And look
essentially, and endorsed the Democrats in Tennessee.
And then look what happened to voter registration. It went up. So,
Took off.
yeah. So it doesn't hurt a politician to have a celebrity endorsement, but most people say, at the end of the day, I'm voting for my family, not about what Taylor Swift or what Oprah might say.
Is that a new ad?
Yes, this is a new ad, and it looks like a red carpet of celebrities. It's not really for a specific candidate. This is an ad that's basically speaking to mainly female voters, and there's a lot of female celebrities in it.
And Bloomberg's money was used to.
That's
to
right.
pay
It
for
was,
this.
a Bloomberg's political action committee that funded
All
that
these
ad.
celebrities just saying go out and vote.
I think I
Absolutely.
saw Cher.
Yeah, you did see Cher. Yeah, she was in it. She's one to follow on Twitter too, by the way.
Why?
She's
All caps tweets.
You better
She's
get
got
on
a lot
that.
going
Yeah,
Okay.
it sounds like she's yelling at you, and
right.
oftentimes she is.
all right. Carly Shimkus, thank you
Thanks
very
a
much.
lot.
Night out,
Appreciate
Sunnyfell.
All right. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi wants everyone to tone down the political rhetoric, but not just yet. We're going to explain.
Plus, Ron DeSantis.
Are straight ahead.
We
and
hope.
We do indeed. 5 days until the midterms, which we have been talking about pert near 2 years. President of the United States, there you can see him at the Hertz Center, the Hertz Arena in Estero, Florida. At one point, he said, hey, by the way, how many of you have voted? And he said almost every hand went up, and he said, why the hell am I here then? Goodbye. In Florida, already 3.5 million people have voted. Earlier absentee, that is more than 4 years ago. So somebody down in the Sunshine State is energized.
He slammed the far left media for spreading lies, said they were using tragedies to sow anger and division. He said to that crowd, this is the greatest political movement, and he talked about birthright citizenship.
Can I just add to that, Ainsley, before
Sure.
we go to the soundbite? He did say there are some very good people, also as reporters and journalists. And what he has said to us before is he doesn't necessarily care about criticism. He just wants fairness. And he's flipping around and doesn't see fairness, and that drives him crazy.
And
Calls it fake news.
we're about to do a soundbite in a minute about how he's able to combat what he regards as fake news.
But first, if you weren't there at the rally, and you probably weren't because we have viewers all over this great country, this is a little bit, 45 seconds of what he said last night.
Democrats want to erase our prosperity and reverse our progress. A vote for Democrats is a vote to liquidate America's borders. If you want low taxes and low crime, vote Republican. This election is truly a choice between results and resistance. Who voted? Who voted? Oh, wow. Everybody voted already? Then what the hell am I doing here tonight? Goodbye.
Okay, so he was in Lee County. Collier and Lee counties in West Florida had the largest GOP turnout of any Florida counties, 87% in 2016, and Lee County had a 78% turnout in 2016 for President Trump, and that's one of the reasons he kicked things off last night, and he's going to be blitzing the country.
Well, you think Florida, you think Republican, but the president keeps going back to Florida because some of the races there are so tight. You have Rick Scott and Ron DeSantis that are running in that state, as well as others. So he's going back to Florida, actually. He was there last night, going back on Saturday. But look at the map. That's where he's going 11 rallies over like
Where
a
is he-
6-day span.
Where is he today?
So today he's going to Columbia, Missouri, close to your old stomping grounds.
Yep.
And then on Friday he's going to West Virginia, Huntington.
Manchin suddenly is vulnerable.
Okay, and then Indianapolis.
And
Saturday.
I think what's also interesting in Montana that the Libertarian has dropped out. And the conventional thought is when a Libertarian drops out, it's good for Republicans. That hurts John Tester, who's trying desperately to tell everybody that he is a moderate, he's a moderate Democrat, which the only problem is we see his voting record.
But the Libertarian not only dropped out, but endorsed the Republican. And so it's like, what's going to happen to that 4 or 5% that the Libertarian was polling with? Will they go to Tester? Will they go to Rosendale?
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, let's look at the last Fox polling, I believe, right before the election with 5 days and counting.
Yesterday.
Probably, yeah. Here in North Dakota, take a look at the president's
These are the
popularity
battleground
there.
states, keep in mind.
So this is why it matters. That's why we broke them out. I used to have a state-by-state map, and I used to be able to put these all together again. Hopefully you can do that at home. North Dakota, 61%. The president's got approval. In Tennessee, he's just under 60.
That's
Missouri
bad for Heidi Heitkamp.
Yeah, 54% in Missouri. That's a Senate seat the president hopes to be able to flip, but they are in a dead heat right now, is Josh Hawley. In Arizona, another dead heat to fill up Jeff Flake's Senate seat. At 52%, the president's popularity is. In Indiana, where the vice president called home where he was governor, he's at 50%, which that's a little low for him compared to what he got in the election.
Well, in Indiana, the most popular politician in Indiana is Mike Pence.
So the president, we've talked about that Axios interview that's going to be aired on HBO, right, this weekend. Well, here's another clip of it, of the president defending why he calls the media the enemy of the people. Listen.
What scares the crap out of me is that if you're saying enemy of the people, God forbid.
I have to fight back. You're right.
No, but hold on a second. But one second. But this thing, God forbid that you've got fervent supporters. They love you. They listen to you. Enemy of the people. Enemy of the people.
They like me more
and
because
boom.
of that.
They like you more. But what happens if all of a sudden someone gets shot? Someone shoots one of these reporters.
Jim,
Is that? But
I
honestly,
fully.
I don't think you think we're the enemy of the people.
I don't. But if you gave me false reports, I would say that's not a good thing for our country.
But don't you worry at all? I mean, you are like the most powerful man in the world, and if you say that word, enemy, literally tens of thousands of people go into a stadium to listen to you, and then people go on social media and they get themselves so jazzed up. There's got to be a party that's like, damn it, I'm scared that someone is going to take it
Jim,
too
it's
far.
my only form of fighting back. I couldn't be here if I did that.
You
would never
won.
be
You
here.
have the presidency.
No, but I did this before I won.
So there he is. He's saying essentially, I may be president, but that's how I fight back. Clearly, what he doesn't like is he does not like stories that he feels are not fair to what he is doing. And so it started out as fake news, and then it eventually turned into enemy of the people. And Jim Vandehey's a talker right there about what if somebody takes it, somebody's listening to that and they think, okay, that guy that I'm seeing at this rally is an enemy of the people. What should I do about it?
How frustrating would it be if you're the president of the United States and every single time you turn on the TV, on most of the channels, they're misconstruing what you say, and you know your heart and you know your words and you know your voice, and then you watch other people report on what you say and it's completely different than what you mean.
Well,
that has to be frustrating, and that's why he's saying it's fake news. And he's saying if you don't want to be called the enemy, then get the story right, be accurate, and report the story the way that I want it reported.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I also think that there's always a risk when you're a public speaker of people misinterpreting your words that are mentally unbalanced. Like the guy living in his van showering at a health club who's a Bernie Sanders worker ends up shooting up a baseball field because he looks at...
You asked Steve Scalise when we interviewed him. You said, do you blame Bernie Sanders?
No, yeah.
And he said, absolutely not. This guy was a nut.
I actually thought you asked that question.
No, you did.
No, thank you.
It was a great question. I was thinking I wish I had.
Usually I like to praise myself, but I like it better when you do. But also I think it's important to bring up, too, I think Jim Vandehey is fair. I think Jonathan Swan is fair. I think Axios is fair. And I thought he asked a good question. The president gave an honest response back. And I would not doubt, just an opinion, I don't know. But that's why he said yesterday, this is 2 days after his interview, I think, you have some very good people as reporters and journalists. You have some that are not good at all. He showed a dissemination, so maybe he is somewhat moderating.
But the president has got the biggest megaphone in the world, and whether it's Twitter or when he's out and about and he says that is not true, he is branding it. That's not true.
Well, I'm going to bring this up, too, before we go to the soundbite. Bernie Sanders last night said the president's the most racist, xenophobic, anti-gay, homophobic. What does that do? Well, what did Bernie Sanders do last night to his supporters? Why is Bernie Sanders not worried about people misinterpreting his words and his actions? Because if he's describing the president accurately, which I assume he is because he only tells the truth, then maybe somebody's misinterpreting those words and thinks they have to do what some of those clowns did last week.
So now you know, you just heard from the interview with Jim VandeHei and Jonathan Swan. The President of the United States uses the term enemy of the people to fight back to the press. That is not true in his estimation.
Well, and Nancy Pelosi, we heard Hillary Clinton say, if you want civility, we're not going to be civil until Democrats win. Nancy Pelosi had a similar message. Listen to this.
There's been a lot of talk lately about lowering the temperature of political discourse. Have you seen evidence of that?
Well, I think when we win, you will see evidence of that. Because when we do win, we will have, as we open the new Congress, we will honor the vows of our founders, e pluribus unum, from many ones. Well, it's okay to disagree in the marketplace of ideas. That's exciting. But it is also important to find solutions that unify and not divide. And that's what makes a big difference between Democrats and what's in the White House now.
I wonder when the last time Nancy Pelosi came out to unify. I don't know. Do we have a
after they win on Tuesday?
Right. Do we have a big enough brain room staff to look that up? When's the last time she went out to go halfway? When she jammed Obamacare down everyone's throat? When President Obama was ready to give up on it? That's what we're looking at.
Well, she's obviously feeling very strongly about it, because that was the same interview with Stephen Colbert where she was emphatic, we're going to win. We're going to win, and we will unify after we win.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that Bernie Sanders, anyone should listen to Bernie Sanders and take action or will. I'm just saying that if you're going to be tough on the president for his language, and maybe it's justified, you got to be tough on everybody on their language. So if you want the president to tone it down, at least as a future opponent, which looks to be Bernie Sanders, has got to tone it down as well.
Bernie Sanders is not the president.
Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think.
be.
I'm curious
He
to
does.
find out what our viewers think about that interview and the president calling the press the enemy of the people. All right, let's hand it over to Jillian, who has some more headlines for us.
That's
Hey,
right.
Jillian.
Good Thursday morning. Let's start with this story. And the man accused of killing 11 innocent people inside a Pittsburgh synagogue is due back in court today. Robert Bowers has now been indicted on 44 federal charges, including hate crimes and murder. Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty. Funerals for more than half of the victims have been held, with more services planned for today. An ex-con thinks notorious mob boss Whitey Bulger's death may have been a setup. He tells the New York Post it makes no sense why the FBI informant wasn't in protective custody at a prison where 2 other inmates were killed this year. Officials believe Bulger was beaten and killed by a mafia hitman with a lock inside a sock 1 day after arriving at the West Virginia prison. Bulger responsible for at least 11 murders. The man known as the hipster terrorist for his social media pictures pleads guilty to supporting ISIS. The Iraqi refugee admitting in a Chicago courtroom that he lied to immigration officials about flying to Syria to help fight for the terror group in 2013. He claims he wanted to defend the Syrian people. He's expected to be sentenced in April and faces up to 15 years in prison. Uh-oh, Red Sox fans partying a little too hard. The team showing off its World Series trophy at the Victory Parade. When the trophy took a hit, do you see that? A can of beer launched from the crowd, smacking right into it. And you can see the damage as one of the pennants was knocked loose.
Talked a little bit about how, Andrew Gillum is running on impeaching the president. And what else did you say?
Well, I just joked. I mean, he's running as mayor of Tallahassee. Maybe he should be impeached because he got caught now definitively taking illegal gifts from an undercover FBI agent, over $1,000 in New York City, $4,300 for a fundraising dinner, which was never disclosed. And then you had the lobbyists that arranged both of those, gave Andrew a $1,000 4-night stay in a luxury Costa Rica villa. And then, of course, Andrew turned around and gave that same lobbyist a $2 million contract with the city of Tallahassee. So that is corruption in action at the municipal level, and it is wrong.
One of the things that people of Florida on both coasts are concerned about, the red tide and the green algae. If you were governor, how would you fix that?
Good appointments to the water management districts, good water quality standards, and then working with the Trump administration to finish these projects, particularly this reservoir south of Lake Okeechobee. Yeah. You send the water there, clean it, then you don't have to discharge it. But here's the thing, Steve. Andrew wants to impeach Trump. How the hell is he going to work with the Trump administration constructively to advance Florida's priorities? So I'll get the job done with the water. Andrew will not.
All right. Ron DeSantis joining us today from Miami. I know sprint to the finish. Sir, thank you very much for joining us live.
Thank you.
By the way, we did reach out to Mr. Gillum to invite him on the program. They have not called us back. Invitation still open. Meanwhile, President Trump says railing against his opponents helps him win.
Amped up ads when Smith opted out of the televised event with Republican Karen Housley. She blamed the scheduling issue. I'm not buying it. Next, $15 an hour. That's how much Amazon will pay its employees starting today. The company increasing its minimum wage for more than 250,000 workers. The move comes after Amazon was criticized for not paying warehouse workers enough. That's great news. And finally, 108.5 miles per hour. A father-daughter duo setting the world record for fastest farm tractor. The Ohio family beating the previous record by almost 13 miles per hour. That's what happens when you get rid of the governor. Ainsley, talk about something else.
Awesome. That reminds me of home. That was in Ohio? I love that story. Thanks, Brian. President Trump taking on his critics, explaining the rhetoric that he uses against the media. Watch this.
You are like the most powerful man in the world, and if you say that word, enemy, literally tens of thousands of people go into a stadium to listen to you, and then people go on social media and they get themselves so jazzed up. There's got to be a party that's like, damn it, I'm scared that someone is going to take it too
It's
far.
my only form of fighting back. I couldn't be here if I did that.
You won. You have the presidency.
No, but I did this before I won.
Well, here to weigh in on this is GOP strategist Kimberly Klacik and former economic advisor to President Obama and Hillary Clinton surrogate Robert Wolf. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you, Ainsley.
You're welcome.
Kim,
Robert,
hi.
I'll start with you. Robert, do you think that is irresponsible, or do you understand why the president is saying that? He has to defend himself.
Yeah, I think when he's acting like candidate Trump and not President Trump, it's great when he goes to these 20 rallies and there's 20,000 people, but do the math, that's 400,000 people. He's a president of 350 million. So I think at least half, if not more, don't like him calling U.S. citizens the enemy of the people who our military are fighting against, or the terrorists that we saw this past weekend, the pipe bomber, or obviously the shooter in Pittsburgh. So I don't view the media as our enemy. They're not perfect, but they're not our enemy.
Kim, what do you think?
I think Robert is proving a great point there. When you talk about serial bombers, when you talk about mass shootings or anything negative in the country, the left-wing media puts that spin on it and they use President Trump's name. When you talk about a booming economy, when you talk about wages increasing or women going into leadership roles and in corporations, then somehow people bring up President Obama. So this is what's been happening for a very long time. President Trump is right. He speaks the language of the general population. There's a reason why his rallies are packed and there's lines around the buildings. There's a reason. People actually like what he says and they believe him in what he says. It's not a game. It's not a charade. It's President Trump. It's transparency.
And Robert, you, as a reporter and someone who's interviewed the president, when you sit down with him, you can ask him any question and he doesn't. He's gonna shoot straight with you. He's gonna be very forthright. And he was honest with that reporter just by saying, I have no other way to defend myself. What else is he supposed to do if he doesn't use Twitter in order to negate some of the stories that other networks are reporting that he doesn't agree with?
Yeah, I think we're talking two different things. I'm not questioning whether the president should defend himself and put what he deems to be the right facts on Twitter, although I'll challenge whether they're the right facts or not. I think we're talking about is that rhetoric he's using, and the far left or far right, is that best for the country? Are these chants at the rallies what we want? The answer is no. It is not bringing our country together. It's separating us. I'm not on the fringe left, and I'm certainly not on the fringe right, but we're losing the center. And I think this nationalistic type of rhetoric is not positive. I had breakfast recently with Steve Bannon, and he said that this is a referendum on Trump, and he is not surprised that the president is talking about this illegal immigration and caravan and birthright citizenship. And the truth is, Republicans should be talking about the economy, and they're not.
All right, Kim, I want to talk to you about that because remember when James Carville, he coined the phrase, the economy stupid or economy stupid, and it's turned into it's the economy stupid. When you look at the numbers and you look at the paychecks, we just did a story. Was it Amazon that Brian just read the story where they're paying their workers now $15 an hour today? And I'm being told, yes, it is Amazon. When you hear stories like that and you see the economy and you look at your 401k, the average since he's been president, everything looks better. So how is it, what are Democrats missing?
Well, Democrats are missing a lot, but we don't have that kind of time to go into it. But in a way, if you look at it, the Labor Department already said we have the largest increase in I would say, probably 8 years. Since 2008, you saw, since 2008, you didn't see this kind of increase. Okay. September 2017 to September 2018, we see 2.9% increase in wages. And people remember that. When you go to vote, you think about the money in your pocket. You think about the economy. I don't think we really even have to talk about it. I mean, action speaks louder than words. If you're going home and your paycheck is larger, that's what you have.
So, Robert, what's your response to that? Why don't Democrats take a step back? And yeah, they might not agree with the rhetoric and the tweets, but if you just look at your pocketbook and our economy and our country, why aren't more Democrats supporting him?
Well, a few things. One, I think everyone should be a pro-growth Democrat or pro-growth Republican, and the economy doing well is a good thing. The Democrats right now are looking to win the House, and they're focusing on local elections, and they're focusing on health care, protecting women's rights, protecting pre-existing conditions. With respect to the economy, we should just say the facts. For the last 20 months of President Obama, we averaged 211,000 jobs. And for the first 20 months of President Trump, we averaged 188,000 jobs. Those are both good, but 211 is greater than 188. So we've had 40 great months. Those are all positive things. I'm not saying we should run away from the economy. We should talk about the vibrant economy. But that being said, you have the president talking about caravan and birthright and immigration. You have the Democrats talking about health care and protecting women's rights. Yeah. And right now, we used to talk about foreign policy, and we used to talk about the economy, and neither side is talking really about that.
Robert, thank you. Kim, thank you. Great to see you both. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Texas Democrat Beto O'Rourke said he would never pay for consultants on his campaign, but it turns out that is not exactly what ended up happening. Plus, Pete Hegseth having breakfast with our friends down in Florida after President Trump's rally last night. We're going to check in with him coming up next. Look,
going to be on Fox Nation, and right now he's in Mel's Diner down in Fort Myers, Florida.
Brian, I'm going to weigh in on that. Not as many people go to the bank as they used to. I agree with you.
So we used to have to get there before 3 o'clock?
Yep, you used to get there before 3 or it shuts down. No more of that. It's
now you can deposit your checks, right, using your phone.
I know.
Come a long way.
At your kitchen table. It's unbelievable. It's kind of like Fox Nation. You can get Fox anywhere all the time at foxnation.com. That's called a promo. Anyway, sorry. Here we are at Mel's Diner, and sometimes it's hard to find folks. Here we have an embarrassment of riches this morning of people to talk to, many of which went to the rally that was here last night, including Jill and Susan, who were both at the rally last night. First of all, it was your first rally, first president you've ever seen go speak. Why are people so motivated to come out and hear President Trump?
He just has a presence about him and a following, and you just want to go see what he has to say.
And you're passionate about both races. You've got a Senate race and a gubernatorial race here. Do you feel good about those outcomes?
I do. We have the economy going in the right direction, and I want it to stay.
And you've already voted, and you're going to vote on Election Day. Now, you used to be a Democrat. You're now a Republican.
Yes.
Why did you switch, A, and B, what issues are most important to you?
It was a long time being a Democrat, and then, you know, I went to independent. I think the economy was very important. I think securing the borders was important. I worked in higher ed for my whole career, and, you know, I had, you know, one point of view, and that. And
was that the only point of view in higher ed, left-wing point of view?
Yes, well, mostly, but we hid. You know, the independents and the Republicans hid. So, you know, it
shouldn't have to be that way.
I know it wasn't that way 10 years ago, but it is now. So.
And you worried about Andrew Gillum and socialism coming to Florida?
Yeah, I am.
Got it. I hear that time and time again. I almost fell on my chair. I'm going to go to the next folks. Everyone's saying socialism and a governor who supports socialism would be a really bad thing for Florida, including Joe and Brittany. Guys, thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you.
You were at the rally as well.
Yes, we were very lucky. We actually got first row right at the gate. You know, it was exciting, a lot of energy.
What issues are most passionate to you?
For me, just the taxes and the economy. I mean, I look at the government as really a big business, and who better than Donald Trump, the best businessman there is, to run, you know, the government. And I just think he's doing a terrific job, and he understands it.
You know? Brittany, you know, some folks have said they're more passionate today than even they were on Election Day because they feel like he's delivered on what he said he would do. Do you feel that way?
I do, because I think that the promises he's made, there's been so many promises kept, it's kind of hard not to believe what he's saying he's going to do.
What issue motivates you the most when you go to the polls?
We definitely have family in the military, so everything that he's done for the military, and then they will become veterans, that what he does for the veterans definitely is more reason that we get behind him and back him.
Military and veterans. Speaking of a veteran, we've got one right here. Sir, what's your name again?
Terry.
Terry, when did you serve and in what way?
Well,
I've got a total of 54 years in with my dad's 20 and my 34. Border security is kind of important to me because I spent a lot of time down in Nicaragua with the Contras. I go back a long way.
Do you support the military being sent down to the border?
Absolutely, absolutely. I really hate seeing people kind of kept out of our country, but we don't if they go through the proper procedures. And we need to know who's coming. We need to know who's there and what they're up to. And you look at this convoy, and every time I see a pan of it, you see so many of the military-age guys down there. And like I said, I did time in El Salvador and Honduras and Nicaragua. I was there under Carter, back and forth under different presidents, under Bush.
You're saying we just got to know who these guys are.
We got to know who they are.
Absolutely.
I'm all in favor of immigrants.
We hear a lot of that over and over again. Border security, military, vets, the economy, and a lot of focus on the fact that he's delivered on what he said he would do, which is motivating a lot of voters down here in Florida. Guys, back to you.
Motivated a lot already to vote. Early voting. Pete, thank you very much.
Pete.
Live from Mel's.
All right, let's hand it out to Janice Dean, who is covering our forecast today. Hey, Janice.
Good morning. I'm not going to lie. I just ran out here and I'm out of breath. Hi, how are you? What are your names?
My name's Sheila Stiles from
Bill. Are you together?
Yes.
Where are you from?
Maryland.
Are you happy to be on Fox and Friends?
Yes, we are. We came to see you.
Oh, I like that. How about a hug?
Good job.
Very nice. Oh, hi, Mom. Let's take a look at the maps. Okay, I've caught my breath. I've got a hug. 78, or rather 58 in New York City. It is warm. Do you love this warm weather here in New York City? Yes, it's fantastic. We do have a cold front, though. Unfortunately, it's bringing the potential for severe weather across portions of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and we could see the potential for tornadoes today, okay? So know what to do if there's a watch or a warning in your area, and you can see right on the border of Alabama and Mississippi, we have a couple of tornado-warned storms. Real quick look at the nation's forecast today. As I click through my maps, here it comes, here it comes. There's your future radar. So a nice day here in New York City, the potential for rain and thunderstorms tomorrow as that front moves through. Hey, thanks for coming out. Hi, you guys, how are you? Hi, wave to everybody at home. Wave to Mom. Very nice. We're right on the corner of 48th and 6th this morning.
Our world headquarters.
And I've caught my breath.
There
Thanks,
you go.
Janice.
All right. Sexist. A mom shocked to find
Texas Senate candidate Beto O'Rourke flipping the script days before the midterms. The Federal Election Commission finding the Democrats' campaign paid a consulting firm nearly $18 million over the last quarter. This revelation despite O'Rourke repeatedly saying his campaign would be consultant-free. His campaign has not commented. Let's look at your headlines. Send it back to you, Ainsley.
Thank you, Jillian. More winning for the Trump economy. American workers now seeing more money in their paychecks as wages are growing at the fastest pace in at least a decade.
All right, Stuart Varney says you can thank capitalism and the president for that. Stuart, you know, so many of the metrics regarding the economy have not included wages in the last year or so. But suddenly we're realizing wages are going up more now than they have in a decade.
Exactly. This is the way capitalism is supposed to work, and it is working. You cut taxes, you grow the economy, and employers have to struggle to keep and attract new workers. So what do? They put wages up.
Look at Amazon.
3% gain over the summer. Best gain in 10 years. You couple that with an 18-year high in consumer confidence and 7 million unfilled job openings, and I think you're looking towards an extremely good holiday selling season. Probably the most prosperous holiday season in at least a decade. That's what you're looking forward to here. I think President Trump should take a bow. I mean, he should say, I told you, and he did, and look what we've got.
All of this just because of cutting taxes.
Well, cutting taxes, deregulation, pro-business, opening up America's engine of growth, which is a capitalist economy. He did that. He's running the country like he's running a business, and it's working. And he really should take a bow on this.
Can you explain to me why, given that unbelievably great news, not many Republicans are actually running on that up toward the midterms?
I can't explain it, because surely the economy and prosperity is the key issue that you run on in any election. You punch it up there. We're prosperous, we're growing, we're dynamic, we've got jobs, we've got prosperity. Isn't that what you make your primary reason for voting for me, voting for Republicans?
I have a theory to answer Steve's question because Stuart fell short. You ready?
Go right ahead.
You don't need an ad to tell you that things are better. You don't need to see it on television. You see it at home. If they told you things are better and it's not in your wallet, not on your kitchen table, not in your driveway, then I don't care how good the ad is.
Fair point. Therefore, Republican candidates should turn around and say, we did it.
Right.
We created this prosperity. And
You're
punch
welcome.
it up, you're welcome. And punch it up more forcefully. Again, the president should be taking a bow. And I think he is, by the way. If you look at those rallies, the man's taking a bow for the economic performance. The Democrats, well, what are they doing? All they've got is hate Trump.
Healthcare.
Look, I think there is a real shift in the polls. You see those new Fox News polls? There's a shift. It's going towards the president, going towards the GOP. I don't think there's going to be a blue wave. I think the GOP has a strong chance of keeping the House and increasing its majority in the Senate because the economy, prosperity, wages and jobs.
And we would know that because the market would like that. You believe the market would reflect positively if the president held the House and the Senate?
Yes, I think it would. It would, because you'll get more tax cuts, more deregulation, and a greater attention to growing the economy.
Okay.
Now, Stuart, lots of people want to be you. And there's a little baby that dressed up as you for Halloween.
Stuart Varney, look at that.
That's Baby Barrett.
Yes. I saw. Isn't that nice?
How cute is that?
So
Barrett's
flattering.
mom, Chelsea, sent us that picture dressed up as Stuart Varney for
you see
Halloween.
the caption there? What say you?
Yeah.
I often say
You
that.
do say
Doing an
that.
interview. What say you?
I know. And look at
Thank
they
you,
even built a
Barrett.
set for the baby. Had your name in the back.
You have more
Not cute.
hair.
I have a prediction. That'll be the #1 costume next year. The way your career's going straight up.
I'll take it,
it's be
son.
number
I'll
one.
take it. Thank you all.
All right. Good job.
Thank you, Stuart.
All right.
Wing forced the nation to make a complete blank, embracing bigotry, xenophobia, and sexism. One of the students in the class, Logan Parham, was so shocked by the question, he took a snapshot of it and sent it to his mom, Rihanna, who then shared it on Facebook. They both now join us live. Logan, what was it about that question? You just looked at question number 7 and you said what to yourself?
Initially, I was very shocked to first read it, and I immediately thought how it painted the right to be what they are not, and I think it's very unfair to make a statement like that, especially to students who may not know any better.
You were supposed to fill in that blank with the vocabulary word volte-face, which means act of turning around so as to face the opposition directly. You sent that picture to your mom. She puts it on Facebook. Rihanna, why did you decide to do that?
I was also shocked, so I wanted to put it out there to get feedback from other parents and see if they were, you know, as shocked as I was and understanding it the same way.
Well, here's a excerpt of the principal's letter to the teacher who created the exam. Quote, please be reminded of the importance of exercising good judgment when facilitating subjects that are of a sensitive nature. Logan, you're aren't you the president of the Republican Club at your school?
I am the head secretary, and my buddy Landon Hall and I started the Republican Club, and he is the president, but I am one of the founders.
Okay, and so when you see a question like that, how does that make you feel? Because clearly you are conservative.
It just, honestly, it makes me feel kind of targeted and threatened, being that this is a teacher, and, you know, I think teachers need to be teaching what teachers need to teach rather than forcing their opinions upon students who don't know any better. You know, fortunately, I knew better than to take that.
Well, you're very bold and bright, and thank you so much for being on, Rihanna. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. It is a public school. You're paying taxes, and the principal has said it won't happen again. The school district also responded, and I know that that test is not going to be counted. So thank you so much for taking action.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so what do you think about that? Email us. Meanwhile, President Trump's approval rating staying high in a number of battleground states. What impact that going to have 5 days before the midterms?
Plus, Geraldo and Dana Lash are